Welcome to our lecture lesson on principles of integrated water resource management that is running for the next 2 weeks. I'm sure you've seen on the platform, on the ABC platform, the
Sorry, Mr. Gumindoga, you are now muted.
Oh, okay. Are you hearing me now, Doc?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so greetings and good morning, everyone, and welcome to our lecture on principles of integrated water resource management. I'm sure you have gone through the material that is posted on the platform and that you are able to have a feel of what it is all about. So it's a 2-week-long course, but you know, live interaction, like what we are doing, is only for certain days and certain hours that will be indicated by our administrators. I'm sure Dr. Pujinga mentioned that or has posted something in relation to that. And so I'm going to interact maybe for the next 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And feel free to post material on the platform so that we can really enjoy this lecture. And there are also assignments and homeworks that will be posting or that are already posted. I think you have seen some of them. So my name is Mr. Gumindoga from the University of Zimbabwe. I've been involved in the IWRM program, which is this regional network of water professionals and also for capacity building, I can say for the past 10 years at the University of Zimbabwe. I'm no longer seeing my screen. I'm sure something is happening. Let me see what's happening. Just give me 1 moment so that I can make sure that my other gadget is well connected.
Morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. As Mr. Gumindoga is sorting out his connection, my name is Kraspos Kujinga. I'm the programs coordinator for WaterNet. I really want to welcome you to this course, and I hope you will enjoy it. Can we maybe on the chat indicate where we are logging in from? Just type your country. If you also have some questions, you can also indicate, and then they will be picked up from there. Mr. Gumindoga, are you now ready?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, that's okay. Can I suggest one thing? Maybe before you go in your material, you might want to give the participants an opportunity to say out their expectations of the course, and I already see someone has raised their hand. Okay, over to you, Mr. Gumindoga.
Thank you very much, Doc. Yes, yes. I think that would be very important for participants to tell us their expectations. I really welcome the idea. So I think I'd introduced myself before that technical glitch. I'd introduced myself as Mr. Webster Gumindoga from UZ. So let me just ask us to also do that. Our expectation. Are people going to say it post on the platform, Doc Kujinga, or one by one? What is the format?
Come again.
Are people going to post the expectations on the platform, on the chat?
We can have a few talking now, maybe just a few, and then the rest can post on the platform.
Okay, I think that's good. So, ladies and gentlemen, feel free. How many are we? Let me just invite the first 10. The first 10, please. What are your name, where you are connected from, or your institution, and then what are your expectations? I think in just 30 seconds, it's possible for us to do that. Just put on your microphone, and tell us something in any order.
Good day, everyone. It's Maswara Machweni from South Africa, Pretoria, Council for Geoscience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You didn't tell us your expectations of the course, maybe briefly. Can we please mute our microphones, please, ladies and gentlemen? Hello. Hello, any expectations from the participants, please? Just say out your name and your expectations of the course.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mamosa. Hello.
Yes, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Mamosa Ney from Lesotho. I work in the Ministry of Forestry, Range and Soil Conservation in the Department of Soil and Water Conservation. So my expectation on this program as a land restoration specialist here in Lesotho is to acquire more skills and knowledge as to how to preserve the little moisture that we have and to ensure how we can maybe like restore the remaining land that we have. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, thank you very much.
My name is Kizito. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead,
yes,
please.
I'm Kizito from Malawi. I work with the National Water Resources Authority. My expectation is that since we are going through climate change, and then there is but they want integrated water resource management will help us to understand how different problems that we are facing as a result of climate change can be resolved through interrelationship that is there between different stakeholders in the water sector. Hello?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else on the expectations?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Tashinga Chikomba. I am with the African Youth Initiative on Climate Change in Zimbabwe. And my expectation is for me to have an understanding, a much more better understanding of integrated water resource management, especially in the aspect of climate change and how we can use water to try and mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change within Southern Africa.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else before I hand over to Mr. Gumindoga?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Grace Mpia Mjumpi from Zambia. I work with WAMA, Water Resources Management Authority, and my expectation as an internal auditor for the authority is to be equipped with necessary information on water integrated management and be able to audit the authority from an engineer's point of view.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Anyone else before I hand over to Mr. Gumindoga? Upenyu, do you want to say something?
Yes, Doc. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Upenyu Mupfiga from Midland State University. I'm into geoinformation and Earth observation science, and I've just developed interest in water resources management. So my expectation is just to get an idea or just appreciate the principles of integrated water resources management. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the last person, Adelino, do you want to say something?
Not yet.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
happy just to join the meeting.
Okay, okay, thank you. Rector, do you want to say something?
Yes, my name is Rector Muntemba from Zambia. I'm with Water Resources Management Authority. My expectations are to learn, especially in this time of climate change, how to mitigate the climate change and how to manage the water resources. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll hand over to Mr. Gumindoga. The other people, just type your expectations in the chat box. Over to you, Mr. Gumindoga.
Thank you, Dr. Jinga. That was very exciting for us to know the expectations of people who have joined this course. Can I ask people to mute their microphones so that we don't have a lot of feedback? So that's fine. So the course is on principles of integrated water resource management.
Sorry, Mr. Gumindoga, I muted you by mistake. Can you please unmute yourself?
Thank you, Doc. And also to the participants, when you see myself muted or something happen, don't be afraid to indicate, because sometimes with these social networks, you can go for 30 minutes speaking to yourself. So I was saying that before I go to the course overview, like what to expect from this course, is principles of integrated water resource management. Can you type on the chat platform what you understand by IWRM? What do you understand by principles of integrated water resource management? When you hear about the word IWRM, what comes into your mind? But also tell you that, ladies and gentlemen, in the next 2 weeks, this is what we are going to be learning, both through the live sessions and also via the self-study through the course. We're going to tell you about the introduction to IWRM and challenges of the 21st century. Also going to tell you about the concepts and definitions. So before I give you the definitions, I also want you as a learner to tell us about what you're understanding. What do you understand by IWRM? I'm sure I'm supposed to put my video, is it? Okay. Yes. And also I'm going to let you know what water resources is all about, water demand management, water allocation, laws and water governance, the social environment, water economics, emerging issues, and of course, case studies and assignments. So the course really consists of about these 9 key, 9 key concepts, right? So the teaching team consists of myself from the University of Zimbabwe. Also, we've got Dr. Kujinga from the Alternate, who is also the coordinator of all the courses of RAM. And Mr. Jina from University of Zimbabwe and Engineer Nyakutswa from University of Zimbabwe. So we're going to be interacting with you in these courses. So please, I want you to relax. I want you to enjoy the course. I want you to post comments. But for now, I want you to tell me, what is IWRM? What comes into your mind when you hear about IWRM? So we're going to familiarize you with the latest insights, context, and concepts in IWRM that are under debate in the national, regional, and local forums. So I know some were speaking about soil moisture, climate, water management, water stress, allocation of water as you were introducing yourself. And also when I checked the so all these are local debates about water, local regional debates about water, and also international debates. The president of Zimbabwe recently, I don't the president of Zimbabwe, I think regional leaders really were in the United Kingdom, in the COP26 forum conference. You know, it is to do climate change topical, but to me, I just think what they were discussing is IWRM, was climate, its impacts, etc. So falls under the broader context of IWRM, also to lay a strong foundation for other short courses being offered or in the context of water management. So let me minimize this button. So after going through this short course, we want you to present the main arguments for an integrated approach to the field of water resource management, to reproduce the main issues of debate, to list the most important aspects of water resources, water demand, water allocation, the social environment, the economic environment, to be able to articulate the emerging issues. Because as I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, in the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you about, the key challenges of the 21st century, what we think, but let me tell you that there are other emerging issues that people have not been talking about in the recent decades, in the recent, years. So we want also to be able to articulate them. It also demonstrates the essence of government and private sector participation, demand management, water for sustainable development, and the most common institutional arrangements. That's very, very important. So let me just go now quickly into the key challenges of the 21st century, but I need to check what you have posted. Okay, see, people have posted the definitions of IWRM, but I only saw 5 people have posted something, but I think we've got participants that are nearly 40. Just post, actually we've got 44 participants, maybe minus the 2 of us, we've got 42 participants. What do you understand by IWRM? But when we go now to the definition, we know that want to align what we have mentioned versus, what the definitions that are here. What are the great water resource challenges of the 21st century? I'm going to mention it via a picture, right? Via a picture. One of the is water for people. I think there's some feedback, but I don't know where it's coming from. Water for people. Provision of water for people, water to drink or water for domestic use is a very, topical thing or a key challenge. As you can see, someone needs water to drink, someone needs water to wash, someone needs water to bath. but water resources are increasingly being strained. So that's one of the key challenges of the 21st century, but also water for agriculture. As you can see from the pictures there, water is needed to produce fruits, to produce vegetables, maize, what. So water for food is one of the key challenges of the 21st century, to provide the water without straining the other, the other sectors. That's a very key challenge. But water for energy, I'm sure in Southern Africa, we've been experiencing power shortages. Some of the key reservoirs that provide energy for us Southern Africa. There's the Cabora Bassa in Mozambique, there, the Kariba for Zambia, in Zimbabwe here, and many other places. But that provision of water, and we are speaking in the context of climate change, we no longer have, for example, enough water to turn those turbines. We are seeing that temperatures are increasingly being high, evapotranspiration levels are being high, but also we are seeing that rainfall in most places in Southern Africa being low, but also even across the region being low. So providing water for energy is a key challenge. Water for transport, so for to navigate from point A to point B, to transport goods when when you've got goods arriving at a port, they're transported from point A, maybe from Durban to the other places, from Zanzibar to the other places. That's a key challenge of the 21st century. But also water for industry. We need water for our industries, and this is also one of the key challenges. I think the pictures are showing you a story. But water for recreation, and tourism. I think we have seen, for those that have been following news for the past, I think it's the other year, which is 2019, we had significant reduction in the water levels at the Victoria Falls. And so we saw a significant drop in the tourists that were coming, but a study has been done, because 2019 was one of the key years in which we had a significant drop in the water levels attributed to climate change, and also the number of visitors dropped. But this is just one example. What about other key tourism, key recreation sites? Providing water for recreation tourism is a key challenge of the 21st century. Water for spiritual and cultural values. Me being a pastor, I know that provision of water for spiritual and cultural values is also a key challenge, because once we have shortage of water, that becomes really a problem. Also water for nature. As you can see these pictures, like this picture, I took it 2 weeks ago. Yeah, this one on the lower, so you're able to see on the bottom left, right? So that picture on the bottom left, this one is a picture in one of the tributaries of the Zambezi River called Msengezi in Zimbabwe. So the domestic animals, the wild animals, I'm here that in the past years, they would come here and find water to drink. But nowadays, it's all sand. So provision of water for nature is a key challenge of the 21st century. So let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen, to say, what are some of the key challenges of the 21st century that I may not have mentioned here? Because I mentioned water for nature, water for spiritual and cultural values, water for recreation, water for the industry, water for transport, water for energy, water for food, water for people. All these, could there be something that is so burning that you say, this one is very topical, you might have left it? What could it be? Let me just give you some 30 seconds to think about and type for me on the 21st on the platform. What could it be that we have not mentioned? What is it that we may not have mentioned? What is it that we might not have mentioned. Can I see your charts coming? As you are doing that, maybe we can move. Right. But for us to understand all this, ladies and gentlemen, right? So we have to understand that the integrated water resource management comes into play. The integrated water resource management comes into play because it really seeks to combine all these problems and also to give some solutions, right? In that water can be managed in a holistic way, in a holistic solution, to say that if we need water for the urban, water for a growing population, for the industry, for grazing animals, to maintain the ecosystems, and also to maintain a health ecosystem, we need to manage water in a holistic way. We need to manage water in an integrated way. Otherwise, in the years gone by, some people just specialize and they say that water for nature. Once my animals are well fed, once tourism is supplied for, once the industry is supplied for. But IWRM looks at the fact that when you're providing water for a sector, you have to look at other sectors. You don't have to compromise other factors, is it? So that's what we're going to be looking at. This picture really gives that idea. I think you can start on your own. So in the next slides, I don't want, because of the sake of time, the time that we have, I just introduced this. So what I want you to, ladies and gentlemen, to do is now to look at the rest of the slides to see what, because the rest of the slides, they are there to now to explain concept by concept. This water, for example, drinking water. Not only do we need water to drink, but we might have said sanitation, because I was expecting that someone, okay, I think I see one. Inclusion, this from Charlotte Ndede. Inclusion and involvement of all relevant sectors in conservation and the proper utilization of our water resources. Okay, that's correct. Because I also expecting people to say sanitation, because when we mentioned water for people, for environment, for food, what, but no one mentioned about also sanitation, which is very, very topical, right? But also even number 5, the cross-cutting issues. We need to understand governance and conflict management, governance issues. I'm sure Dr. Kujinga is going to mention some of these things when he teaches you about the social side of water. It's going to mention about gender mainstreaming, governance issues, but also the conflict management, right? Because once all these things are there, but you don't have a platform to manage the conflicts, then the IWRM is not going to come out very well. So I want you to read this and just realize that water provision is very, very important. I took this picture of some drilling company in Harare, where, because of the sanitation issues that were happening in one of the suburbs of Harare. So, the private sector have been now being involved in saying, let's have good provision of water. Once we've got water provision in all the suburbs, the urban suburbs, then the sanitation problems are also solved. Look at these queues for water. Look at these queues. Some are used for queues when you want to buy something, but also know that the next war, as they say, the next war is not about oil. The next war is not about the land to cultivate. The next war is not about the powerful countries. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the next wars are to do with water. Of that. So I want to go through, this water and sanitation accessible. Does everyone has access to water? But we may have a look at this. Sanitation, which is a major challenge. This was in 2004. Trends have changed, but this gives us a good outlook. Sanitation coverage, right? Sanitation coverage, right? So which places have got good sanitation coverage? Obviously, the developed nations, as you can see, but also these countries in North Africa. But look at us, ladies and gentlemen. So you can see here, 50 to 70 something percent Zimbabwe, South Africa there, but that was 2004. Trends might have changed. Look at the rest of sub-Saharan Africa, less than 50%. So the question that you may want to ask, what do they use if they don't have adequate sanitation? How do people, let me use this way, how do people relieve themselves? They use open defecation, right? That's why even here in Zimbabwe, one of our policies or one of the things that we are emphasizing is sanitation is underwater for people, water for animals living under. I'm also reading the chat messages as I'm going through. So one of the key mantra or one of the key policies that the government is emphasizing. Okay, we want to achieve 0% open defecation. 0% open defecation. That's one of the things that we are driving in our raw areas. I don't know about you. What about in Tanzania? What about in Zambia? What about in Lesotho? What are the defecation levels? I'm not sure. Please type for me. What are the defecation levels? If you want, you may Google. What are the open defecation levels in your country? Let me type the question. What are the open defecation levels? Like, what is a percentage in your country? Tell me, what are the open defecation levels in your country? That's the question, right? So, also environmental concerns. I think we've mentioned this to say sanitation versus but sanitation is good, but once you don't have adequate sanitation, the raw sewage, partially treated sewage finds its way into the what? Into the water. Look at these pictures. All this polluting the water resources. That's not good at all. That's not good at all. But just the environment, look at this, they are harvesting the fish, but water is needed because these are, products of water. These are products of water you can harvest and make beds and make chairs, etc. Right. So this you can also read pollution, etc., etc. So these are the greatest challenges of the 21st century. But tell you that, in 2025, projected in 2025, where do we have water scarcity? So that this can ring in your mind, the regions with water scarcity. Look, ladies and gentlemen, there are some regions without water scarcity. Look at these blue regions without water scarcity. Our friends in North Africa, they are always, they are always also in terms of water scarcity, really, they are high because of low rainfall. Both it's a desert, low rainfall areas. There are low rainfall areas, and as such, we've got a deficit because a deficit is calculated in terms of how much water do you receive in the system, for example, the rainfall, but how much water goes out. Water goes out through evapotranspiration, but also stream flow from the river. So this gives a picture to show where exactly we are. A picture that shows where exactly we are. I'm going to skip some of the things, right? So issues with the food production, because you see that one of the PowerPoints, I think that will be the final day. We're going to look at the emerging issues. In the emerging issues, food is still there, but food production is still a challenge of the 21st century. We don't have adequate food. Some regions are starving. You see that in Ethiopia, there's some regions that are starving and people don't have adequate food. But where does the food come from? The food comes from the water, right? So I know someone was mentioning about soil moisture, to say that in, was it Lesotho? Do we have adequate soil moisture? One of the things that we saw, like in the Zambezi basin, but also in the Limpopo basin, people, the settlement patterns, they follow soil moisture patterns. Settlement patterns are influenced by soil moisture patterns. So you want to see how people are settled, look at the soil moisture patterns. So what do I mean? See that people are settled along the Limpopo River. People are settled along the Zambezi River. and many other rivers were in search of soil moisture. But the question now is, a key challenge is, do we know how much soil moisture we have? If we know, can we be able to advise the communities to say that this is sustainable, this is not sustainable? But as people also want to move closer to rivers, but no, there are also policies which say that should not do cultivation within a certain distance from the river. That's one of the things, ladies and gentlemen. We want people to be able to access moisture closer to rivers, closer to wetlands, but there is a legislation in each of our countries that says that cultivation should not be from a certain distance from a river or from a water body. In Zimbabwe, it's 30 meters. No activity is allowed within 30 meters from a river. Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, in your own country, what is the, what is the policy, right? What is the policy in terms of the distance from a water body in which you're not allowed to do, for example, cultivation activities? Tell me. In Zimbabwe, should not do within 30 meters from a river. What about in Lesotho, in Mozambique, in Zambia, from your country, where you're coming from? All right, you can also do this. So I see also a response in the question that I was asking about the defecation. People practicing open defecation. Yes. In Lesotho was reported at 27.28% 2017, according to the World Bank. Wow, what a good source, because citing an authoritative source, Mamosa. So you're saying right now is 27% open defecation. And let us know also the other countries. What level is it? What level is it? So do we have food? I'm now continuing with my lecture. Do we have food sufficient, food production? And do we have sufficient water for food production for a growing population? Right, for a growing population. Look at these trends. Look at those trends. But as we are looking at all these things, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have to forget that we are dealing with climate change. Lest we forget, we are dealing with the climate. What does climate do? Climate already shrinks the space for production. What does climate do? It already gives you pressure, because the water resources are not adequate. The soil moisture is not adequate to see you through the rainfall season. The sanitation is not adequate. The water for agriculture is not adequate. What does climate do? It comes and gives you more pressure and shrinks the survival space. Climate shrinks the innovation space, the survival. So what does it mean? We have to mainstream climate in all our activities. That's the concept of IWRM that we don't have to forget. Sea level temperature, global mean, the sea level rise, global mean sea level, mean of all the, those large scale open water bodies. Look at what's happening. Sea level from the 1880s, years ago, up to 2000. What about in 2020? What about in 2100? What does it mean? It means that those glaciers, they're going to thaw. There's going to be more water, more runoff, right? And so some areas, because this is the thing about climate change, dry areas will continue to be dry. Wetter areas will continue to be wet, meaning to say that for those that have been experiencing dry spells and heat waves, it's going to be, to be amplified. For those that have been experiencing floods, is going to be amplified. So that's something that we need to look at and say, whoa, look at the precipitation, the global precipitation map, right? So that's something. If you want the runoff, like it has rained, ET levels are high, the temperatures are increasing. But what about the runoff? Let me just say, because I've got slides on runoff later on runoff, ET, what. But for now, look, large-scale relative changes in annual runoff for the period 2019 to 2099, all right, relative to 1980 and 1999. What they're trying to say is that, is there a change in the runoff? There will be a positive change in some areas. For example, here, if you compare, let's say, the last century and the current century, if you just want to put it just bluntly like that, last century and the present century, look at what's happening. Some areas are going to have a positive, but our areas, with the Southern Africa, with the North Africa, with the Arab world, there's a negative change in runoff. He said that the water resources are strained. So what should we look at? Mitigation, adaptation. That's why with those COP meetings, where the heads of states and government would go to those COP meetings. But I also told you that we have got other cost-cutting issues, governance issues, and conflict management. My colleagues are going to touch into really, because we might be saying, climate, land use, sanitation, water, agriculture. We're looking at it more from a scientific perspective, because most of these things are scientific based figures in the numbers. But know that there's the other thing, the big elephant in the room, which is the issue of governance, public participation, our people participating to the local, who are the custodians, the locals, who are the custodians of these water resources. Are they also involved? Do we include them in the management? Public participation in water boards. How many are the locals, how many locals are participating in the local boards? Or is that something which is top down? Is it a bottom up approach? But how many females are also there? Do we consider the downstream users of water? All those are to do with the governance issues, public participation. So IWRM speaks about also those things. They come into play: the science part, the hydrology part, the environmental part, the climate part, the land use part, but also the governance, the gender issues, but also the participation issues. That's all we are speaking about. To say IWRM needs to look at these global challenges, or the challenges of the 21st century. So I wanted to go through your notes to be able to understand. But from what we have just grasped so far, I want to give you just a short assignment, just a half page, not a paragraph, right? What are the most critical water resource challenges for water managers, for water scientists, for infrastructure planners, for community stakeholders? What are the most critical water resource challenges? So what do I want you to do? I want you to write this and submit it. Submit it. Yeah. I think we want to take a look. Because I know some of you have put the last 40 years, and you are saying, hey, this man, why is he just talking and talking? I want to give us, let's say, 11:45. Break. We call it a sanitation break because we're thinking about IWRM. You have to go and do a water balance. I know you want to do a water balance, so we call it a healthy sanitation break for 10 minutes. We meet at 11:55 and we continue. Thank you. So you can leave but muted, you can leave your gadgets connected, but just muted. So let's meet at 11:45. Thank you. I trust that we are still connected. So are there any questions from the previous? If there are any questions, let me know them from our first lecture. Now I want to go into concepts and definitions, but are there any any questions that you might be having so that I can answer them. Right. So I assume that there are no questions. So feel free to post your questions on the chat platform. Feel free to post your questions on the chat platform. Let me try to share my screen with the other gadgets. Dr. Kujinga, are you still connected?
Yes, I am.
I wanted to find out on the assignments, did they submit it through the platform?
The assignments that they have to do.
Yeah, like submission, how do they do it?
Let me see if we can have a submission platform portal on the platform. I'll talk to the developers so that they can just put a submission portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That will be good. Okay, let's proceed, good people. We tend to finish at 12:30, so 30 minutes on this one. So we'll now look at having shared with you the key challenges of the 21st century. We now want to look at the concept in right? So I think all of us will really recall this diagram. I think if I give my kids now in grade 1, they can tell that, oh, this is the hydrological cycle, this is the water. So our understanding of IWRM also hinges on the understanding that there's something called the water cycle. The water cycle or the hydrological cycle just speaks about, just gives us, the flow of water in its various forms. For example, there's the rainfall, right? The rainfall. Then, when it rains, the water hits the ground, but some intercepted by the trees, some infiltrate the soil so that the water in its liquid state. Some goes into the dams, right? But when it finds itself in all these states, it evaporates from the bodies, but from the trees, the tree uptakes the water, which would have infiltrated the soil. The water has transpired. It transpires from vegetation. That's why we've got the evapotranspiration. In that there's evaporation, but there's also transpiration. Then there's also water, which survives all this. It's not, it doesn't transpire, it doesn't, gets in the water body, it has to find itself as runoff down the slope to the ocean. From the ocean, it also still has to evaporate, but this evaporation speaks about the fact that water exists in other forms besides the liquid state, which is the gaseous state. And then it has to, right? When there's the water can also be transformed into other, states, for example, from liquid to solid, from liquid to gas, and vice versa, all these other states. So the hydrological cycle makes us understand that water is not lost. The principle of conservation of mass, momentum, of energy, is summarized by the fact that we can never, lose water. It just transforms from one state to the other. That's very, very important. I thought I can just emphasize that, right? But fresh water is vital to sustain life for which there is no substitute. Although water is a renewable resource, it is practically speaking finite. Many uses of water are therefore subtractable, right? Water is a fugitive resource. It is therefore difficult to access, right? Because of its states, the states that it can find itself in. I know at the University of Zimbabwe, we've been conducted by a certain company to say that you are just thinking about that water they say that hydrologically speaking, we know that water exists in the gaseous state. Can we harvest water in its gaseous state so that we have to deal away with the treatment, with the pollution, because water in its in its liquid state is prone to pollution. Why can't we harvest it in its gaseous state? So that's a key challenge that we found ourselves in. So we are thinking about that. So its vital nature, water's vital nature gives water characteristics of a public good. Its finite nature confers to its properties of a private good. Its fugitive nature and the resulting high cost of exclusion confers to water properties of a common pool resource. So here, when we speak about water as a resource, at some point we conceptualize water as a public good. But at some point we conceptualize water as a private good. You can have your water in your bowl, that's a private resource. But water, you know, when it's a free-flowing river, it's a public good. So all these things, I think in water economics, Mr. Ajinas can tell you more about this. Very, very interesting. But these are all the uses of water. I think we covered some of them when we speak about the greatest challenges of the 21st century. There are all these uses of water, from hydropower, livestock, fisheries, etc. And this summarizes also these uses of water in a pictorial form. I think we saw this. All water flows are embedded in a drainage basin. To say that once we think of water in all those forms, but I also want you to know that water is embedded in a drainage basin, in a hydrological basin. These basins, for example, to say Zambezi is a basin, Nile is a basin, is it? Congo is a basin, but we also have got other sub-basins. Limpopo is a basin, but we can also say that Okavango is a basin. There are also sub-basins, Manyame, smaller basin. So water is confined into these drainage basins. Right. So once we speak about that, there are now the concepts of demand and also the concepts of use. There's the demand of it, there's also the use, but also how much we have. So what is demand of water? Demand for water is this the quantity and quality required at a certain point. When we speak about the demand for water, the quantities and the qualities required at a certain point. So concerning the use of water, we need to also be able to distinguish the withdrawal uses and the non-withdrawal uses, or the in-stream uses. For example, we speak about each of the environmental flows. Well, the river itself, the environment itself is a user of water. So that's a non-withdrawal use of water. That's an example. But let me tell you about the withdrawal use of water. If you want to, from the bore, that's a withdrawal use of water. For hydropower, that's a withdrawal, but there's also aspects of non-withdrawal. So I want you to give me examples on the chat platform of what you call withdrawal use and the non-withdrawal use of water. Can you give me, for each person who is connected and all our viewers, can you give me 2 examples of withdrawal uses of water and 2 examples of the non-withdrawal uses of water? Share me on the chat platform. Examples of the withdrawal use of water. Yes, I see the responses are coming. Withdrawal irrigation. I think, from the literal meaning, from the literal meaning, yeah. Non-withdrawal, yes, fishing. I agree with you. Any other examples, ladies and gentlemen? There's also what you call the consumptive uses and the non-consumptive uses of water. What is consumptive use? This is the portion of the water withdrawn that is no longer available for further use. That is evaporation and transpiration. Water incorporated in manufactured products and crops in polluted water, right? So what are they saying? Consumptive use of water is the portion of the water withdrawn that is no longer available for further use. A non-consumptive thing would be the exact opposite. So I'm saying the non-withdrawal, the examples that are coming, hydropower, recreation, boat cruising, fishing, baptism, isn't it? We spoke about, isn't it? We spoke about the greater challenges of the 21st century, water from recreation for religious purposes. So those examples that you are giving, they're very, very important. So IWRM is inspired by the Dublin Principles of 1992 and first defined by Agenda 21, Chapter 18, which speaks about that water as an integral part of the ecosystem, a natural resource, and a social and economic good. So these are something that we need to understand. There are keywords there, that whilst water is an integral part of the ecosystem, it's a natural resource. Why is it natural? Freely available, maybe, but it just exists. A natural resource exists. That's why it's called natural. Is water not a natural resource? It is. Is it not a social resource? Yes, it is. Because just like if I come to your house, I just, I can ask for water. Do you charge me for a glass of water at your house? Meaning to say, but I can't come to your house and just ask for a glass of juice. But for a water, I can ask for water as much as I want to drink. Meaning to say that water is a social good, but it's an economic good. That's why it has to be sold. That's why the municipality has put a price on it. That's why a water company has to put a water. I wanted to read more about the Dublin Principles in the Agenda 21, but for us, I wanted those keywords. There are 4 dimensions, right, to the integrated water resource management. Water resource. The first dimension is that we are speaking about water resource, which is the entire water cycle. Yeah. When we speak about water resources, we speak about that, the entire water cycle. Evaporation, evapotranspiration, that water cycle. But also we've got water users as a key dimension. All users, all sectors, you don't have to exclude some. Agriculture is a key water user. Tourism is a key water user. The industry is a key water user. The environment itself is a key water user. But also, one of the key dimensions is spatial. Water resources, ladies and gentlemen, they vary from space to space, from place to place. Spatial distribution, management scales. Some places have got more rainfall, some has less. Water has got more, some places have more runoff, some have less. I was driving from here, from here, the university where I am right now, University of Zimbabwe, to the CBD, Harare CBD. If it rains here, if I leave the campus when it's raining, it's a 5 kilometers from Harare, from the university, from my office to the CBD. I can drive from here was raining, and just 2 kilometer distance, it has stopped. Another kilometer, it's raining. Another kilometer is not, mean that rainfall varies in space. So water also varies in space. That's why some areas have got abundance. That's why also we've got the hot deserts, the Victoria regions, etc. Then temporal. water resources vary in availability and demand, and also cross factors. But really, temporal speaks about the time. Today we may have too much of it, but tomorrow shortages of it. Yesterday there was rainfall, today there was no rainfall. So water resource in terms of the dimensions, there's also the temporal variability. There's also the temporal variation of the water resource. I think you really have to understand that. Yeah.
You are now muted, Mr. Gumindoga. I don't know what happened.
Okay, sorry, I had to mute myself. Someone had. So let me continue. So 4 dimensions: the water resources, water users, spatial, and the temporal. So these dimensions have to be integrated for decision making. So leave one dimension for your own peril. All of them have to be integrated. Yeah. But you see that there's issue of the institutions. By means of institutions that are viewed as legitimate, which implies active stakeholder involvement. I think that's what we, in the previous, before we went for break, we mentioned that institutions to do with the management. They have to be fused in these things, right? So what is decision making? We're speaking about that. Yeah, fuse all these dimensions. What is to make a decision? Involves the integration of the different objectives where possible, and a trade-off or a priority setting between these objectives where necessary, by carefully weighing this in an informed and transparent manner according to societal objectives and constraints. So that's what, to integrate all objectives. If you've got all decision making, you have to integrate all these dimensions in a way that doesn't suffocate the other, that doesn't, in a way that does not make the other, seem favored, by weighing carefully all the priorities that you have put according to societal objectives and constraints. Meaning that IWRM is not something that you say, okay, I take principles from a regional level and then I put down at a village level without societal expectations. You have to meet societal expectations. After saying all these things, what is IWRM? I know you had given me the definitions there, but look at this definition. I want you to see whether your definition. So the Global Water Partnership gives the most, acceptable definition. GWP gives us the most acceptable definition of IWRM, which is a process. So IWRM is not a tool. IWRM is not a software, but it's a concept. It's a process which promotes the coordinated development and management of water, land, and related resources in order to maximize the resultant economic and social welfare in an equitable manner without compromising the sustainability of vital ecosystems. Yeah. It promotes the coordinated development, management of water, land, and related resources. So we should get maximum benefits from the environment, but without compromising the ability of the environment to be able to provide, especially for future generations. So IWRM is a process. So how many of you got it right? How many of you, without having looked at the internet, got this definition right? If you got it, say, I got it. If you got it right, just type on the platform, say, I got it. So I want to look at policy principles, right? There's what called the E's of posture: equity, ecological integrity, and efficiency. So IWRM hinges also on these three E's: equitable usage of water, maintaining the sustainability of the environment, but also getting maximum benefits. There's no IWRM without getting the benefits, isn't it? It's like when you're doing environmental impact assessment and they say, we should conserve the environment, what, but without speaking about the economic benefits. So the Southern African vision for water: equitable and sustainable utilization of water for social environmental justice, regional integration, and economic benefit for present and future generations. Very, very important. So those are the three E's. So when you're dealing with that, efficiency, equity, and ecology. Now the question is that, do we have a win-lose, a win-win, or a lose-win? Is it, otherwise the question really is it possible for us to achieve a win-win in the management of water? So I want you to just go and, when you are reading, look at this. We said IWRM in its definition, that coordinated development and management of water to achieve the economic, the social justice without compromising the system where the resource comes from. Then we spoke about equity, ecology, and efficiency. Is it possible to achieve this? So we might be able to take win-lose. Is it a win-win? Is it a lose-win according to this matrix, convergence matrix? So can you go and fill it? Okay, I think I have to minimize this. Okay. So, when you have efficiency, equity, efficiency, and ecological integrity, we need to improve the efficiency of water use. That's why nowadays technology is about reuse, efficiency, a small amount of water to flush a toilet. Some are speaking about issues to do with hydropower. Why do we need the whole of Caribbean Cabora Bassa to turn on the turbines? Can a drop of water, when it falls on the ground, can it turn the turbine? We need to improve the efficiency of water use. But also the water demand management, which is a topic that we are also going to be doing exclusively. So in water conservation measures, someone was speaking about moisture, increasing block tariff pricing system for drinking water. How many people are willing to pay for the water? Yeah. So IWRM, some will perceive it as a supply cum demand management. So there's the water supply management and the water demand management. Right? Are we able to balance it? Are we able to meet an equilibrium where the water supply, if you look at the infrastructure policies, water quality policies, land use, desalinization, preventing soil erosion, what, so that we've got adequate water supply, but also the water demand, the enabling environment, the supply technologies, the legal incentives, the water education. We have to manage the demand. Yes, as humans, we need water, the environment, the tourism, the industry, those sectors that we're looking at. But can we manage the demand? It's like when you've got $5 in your home, you tell your kids that they are going to use 5 years in a week. What have you said when you say, let's manage 5 years We have dealt with the water supply management. There's the money supply. There's only 5 years. But if you give them 5 years and then you don't tell them, your kids, how to manage the 5 years, you haven't dealt with the demand. How do you deal with it? Okay, let's look at how much can you buy with the 5 years? How much can we buy a day? Which supermarket shall we go? Which places shall we go? What? You're dealing with the demand. That's what IWRM also deals with, the supply cum demand management. All right. So once we're dealing with IWRM, know that their policies, we also have got a day where, not a day, but really we've got lecture notes that deals with issues, the policies and legislation in greater detail. But I just thought that I need to just introduce a little bit that, these concepts of IWRM, when they were envisaged, or when water managers, water users came with this concept of IWRM, they did to go and dig deep into the policies, into existing policies that deals with water. One of them is the Dublin Principle of 1992, which says that water is a finite, vulnerable, and essential resource which should be managed in an integrated manner. Water is a finite, vulnerable, and essential resource. But the Dublin Principle also speaks about the fact that water resource development and management should be based on participatory approach. I think we spoke about it. So number one, integrated manner. Number two, a participatory. Number three, women play a central role in the provision, management, and safeguarding of water, which speaks about gender. Is it? Because our traditional beliefs, our cultural beliefs, our political and our religious beliefs, they always put men at the forefront of everything. But women play a central role. Water is an economic, that's the key. I'm just summarizing. Water as an economic value should be recognized as an economic good, taking into account affordability and equal criteria. So what are we saying? Yeah. Water should be managed in an integrated, participatory, considering gender balance, and it's an economic good. Yeah. So I see a question. Let me just go back a little bit if I can. So someone was asking about what is management of ecological infrastructure. Okay. Okay. Someone was asking something. Okay, I wanted to explain to it. It's a slide. Something what we're speaking about. Okay. Okay. So is management of ecological infrastructure included? Yes, yes. So the list is not exhaustive. The water supply management also speaks about that ecological infrastructure. So the list is not exhaustive. I was just responding to a question. Someone's asking about assignments. Let's submit them tomorrow. So I'm going to also rush through because of our time. We need to end in the next few minutes. Sustainability, right? There's what called sustainable development, which is development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So part of IWRM is the issue of sustainability. The brand, you can go and read what is called the brand land report of 1987. So it's a key concept of sustainable development, that whatever that you're doing with the environment today, do not compromise the future generations. That's why they say, we did not or let me put it across, we don't own this environment, but rather someone finish for me.
We borrow it from future generations.
Yes, we do not own it, but we borrowed it from. For once you think that it's of the future generation, and also we actually borrowed it, that should make your mind tick to say, okay, it's not mine. It's there are people who are in the coming generations who also need to use it. So I should not deplete the environment. So speaking about sustainability is defined in so many ways: physical, yeah, the economic sustainability, the institutional sustainability, but also the resilience as applied to integrated system of people in the natural environment, right? So when you speak about resilience, also, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's something to do with the climate and many other things. For us to live in a sustainable environment, as envisaged in the IWRM principles, we also have to be resilient, right? There are always pressures: sanitation collapse, climate, land use change, what. We also have to be resilient, right? So that leads me to evolution of the field. Which field of the IWRM? So IWRM started years gone by. You see that in the 1990s, 1992, there were already the Dublin Principles, IWRM being conceptualized, but the discipline has involved, right? The discipline, I can say the discipline has evolved. What do I mean? Right? So in the 1970s, it was just the water resource development. In the 1980s, the water resources management. People have been trying to come out with, you know, terms to say that when you're speaking about water resource development, there's no management in it. When you speak about management, then someone say there's no the integration of other, you know, disciplines. So let me ask you a question. With the way the discipline evolved from the next 70s, look towards water resource development and its weaknesses, they are there. But it was mainly about the engineering aspect. It came to water resource management in the 1980s. But in the 1990s, they integrated, they said that, you know, around 2000, we now started a master's in integrated water resource management to try to say that, so that we build capacity in the IWRM. But the discipline has changed. What about now in 2020? What do you think if we're going to, so my question that I want you to tell me on the chat platform, if we're going to change the discipline in terms of the naming, what would you call it? Which name would you give it, which is not IWRM? Which name would you give to the discipline? Which name would you, if we're going to be called by the SADC heads of state and government, they say, IWRM, isn't it getting tired? What concept with the current challenges, which name would you give it? So, tell me. I see some names coming. So it is the historical events, they tell you that the discipline has evolved, not the discipline itself, but which international and regional policies, meetings, conferences were mentioning about IWRM or just the water. The 1965 to 74 International Hydrological Decade, 1966 Helsinki Rules on the Use of International Rivers, 1994 UN Conference, all this, something on water was being mentioned. 1997 First World Water, whatever. These historical events. Recent developments, 2000 Second World Water Forum, you read it. 2002 General Comment on the Right to Water by the UN Committee on Economic. These were policies or policy guidelines, how the discipline evolved, or how, you know, people began to take issues with the water management seriously. 2009 Fifth World Water Forum in Istanbul. Okay, so I'm seeing some names that can replace IWRM. Holistic resource management, Nexus, the water force. Okay, tell us more. So my assignment is of the historical events. That's assignment number 2. So here, and isn't that we apply to learn. So also give you assignments of the historical events in the Global Water Conference. Clearly outline what happened from 2020 to 2021. What is my question saying? I'm simply saying, you see this 1965, 1997. All this, there was something to do with water policies in relation to IWRM, but we ended up in 2009 or the North. But what about 2020? So tell me, 2020, 2021, 2022, sorry, not 20, 2010, 11, 12, up to now. What has been happening? That's the assignment. This one is submitted on Wednesday. So that one on the first one is on Wednesday. This one on Thursday. Yeah. So you also know that after that day came the MDGs, the Millennial Development Goals came into play. What were they saying? They were now so much specific. The MDGs, improved use of rainfall, irrigation water, and increased access to productive water. So I wanted to go and research the Millennial Development Goals. Where does it mention issues to do with water? That's really what I want you to do. MDG number 1, does it speak about water? MDG 2 number 2, does it speak about water? If it speaks about water, what exactly about water? That's what I want you to go and do, right? Because we don't know and don't have time now. If it speaks about water, what exactly about water? Which MDG, right? And what are the major gaps? Because the MDGs, all of them, not all, as you see, yeah, they will speak about water, sanitation, what I've given you there. That's MDG 4. MDG what speaks about this. So I want you to go and say, what are the major MDGs? What's needed then? And this was not an assignment, just a homework. What's needed then? But I can also tell you in advance what's needed. After the MDGs, what came? What came after the MDGs? The answer part 2 of the question. Yeah, good people.
The Sustainable Development Goals.
The Sustainable Development Goals. They came also as an answer to, number 1, to extend, but also to bridge the gap, but also to the weaknesses of the MDGs were now being solved in the SDGs. We're going to look at it in another slide, right? So after having looked at that, what is the consensus? I think I'm left with 3 slides to finish. After, chronicling the history from the 1970s of how water policies were conceptualized in the IWRM, the MDGs, and the SDGs. Now we're going to look at that in another lecture. What are the emerging consensus? What did we agree? Water management requires an integrated participatory approach. In terms of water allocation, basic human needs should receive priority. Other needs should be prioritized according to societal needs and socio-economic criteria. Basic human needs. Yes, water is an economic good. It's a what, but water is a basic human need. That one should be on top priority. The river basin often accepted as the logical management unit, yet even this is not unproblematic. Some outstanding issues of debate. Is there indeed water scarcity? I want you to, as you are reading, is there indeed, as you are going through the notes, is there indeed water scarcity, or is just a creation of, let me use this word, but some of you come from the private sector. Is this a creation of the private sector that there is really water scarcity? Is there really water scarcity, guys? Why is it so difficult to provide access to sufficient water, sufficient safe water in adequate sanitation services all? Why is it so difficult? If a government has got surplus, why is everyone not having water? Why do we have open defecation on 27% in Lesotho? Maybe higher in other countries because he didn't tell us other countries. Can we improve the efficient use of rainfall to increase food production? Why does it rain and all water goes to the ocean and yet we have got poverty? What does it mean to say that we need good water governance? Is there no good water governance? Are our traditional courts enough? Do we need a water court? Is it not enough? The traditional way in which we are managing water? Should catchment exchange have executive functions? For example, we've got Zambezi, Manyame, Limpopo. Do we need a catchment institution, a catchment water authority, a river basin? Should it have executive function? With the increase in pressure on the water resource inevitably lead to an increase in conflicts all over. I told you that the next war is a war about water. Is that true or just wishful thinking? How can we do with upstream, downstream asymmetries? How much water does the environment require? Which priority? Does the environment really need water, guys? What are the implications of climate change? I want you to think about that. Imagine criticism. Is IWRM concept really defined well? I think we have defined it. The best definition came from GWP. Is that definition okay? Suppose some have said that no, nowadays we need the nexus. Can we have the slide there on the platform? Yes, yes. The waterfalls. So is that definition okay? IWRM claims a special institutional space, the problem of it. IWRM wants institutional space. And also, let me ask you, is IWRM a discipline? Because they've got a discipline of engineering, mathematics, history, medicine. Is IWRM also a discipline? Answer me on that one. Should IWRM be a discipline? Should I come from secondary school all the way to start IWRM from secondary school? So if I studied from secondary, then it becomes a discipline. Should it be a discipline? Some, they say, it's focused too much on management at the detriment of development. Some say, you guys are just focusing on management, but where is the development of the water? We're not thinking about the dams. We're not thinking about the chemicals. We're not thinking about the solutions. We're thinking on management. Is that fair? Then there's not one correct interpretation of IWRM. To do of the historical events in Global Water Sector Conference clearly outline what happened from 2010 2021. That's the assignment. Let me answer any key question, guys, before we call it, before I hand over to Dr. Kujinga. I'm sure also Dr. Kujinga, I'm sure they can post comments right on their platform, on the ABC platform. All these things that I was giving you, I wanted to poke into your mind, to poke into your hearts, into your thinking. Is there is IWRM discipline? Are we not focusing on management only? Where is what is what? What is what? I wanted to read it. Otherwise, for me, I'll give you the other days when we can also do the live. Otherwise, that's interesting. And I really appreciate you guys for following through. Yeah, over 50 people who were attending. IWRM should be interdisciplinary. Let's continue the conversations on the platform. Otherwise, I thank you so much for following through. Dr. Kujinga, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gumindonga, and thank you very much to the participants for your patience. We still have more live sessions coming. We have a live session tomorrow, and then the other 2 live sessions will be next week. So we hope to see you, and we encourage you to keep on going through the material on the platform. We will also be putting discussion questions on the platform, and we will let you know about how you can submit the assignments. Maybe before we go, if I can ask Mr. Gumindonga to unshare, and then we can switch on our cameras so that we can take some photos. Thank you. Can we please put on our cameras, switch on our cameras? Switch on cameras, please. Tariro, please take the pictures.
I can't because I'm using my phone.
Okay, so maybe let me try and do it from this end. Okay, let me just take another one. Okay, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.